Hi, folks. This is Annie Rind, reporting to work a day late. It's been nuts around here. As you may know, we put our episodes up on Mondays, but as often happens in Indiana in the springtime, our community was hit with flooding and multiple rounds of storms, including a tornado in our hometown. Anyway, better late than never, and today, I'm diving into one of our favorite topics on 1001 business problems solved with Microsoft Teams. You know, for more than 20 years, SharePoint lists have streamlined a lot of processes and saved people a lot of work. Unfortunately, not as many people and not as many processes as there should have been. The reason being that nearly everyone has considered SharePoint to be nothing more than a document repository. Yes, it is an awesome document repository if set up well, but it does so much more. We've always said that having SharePoint and not using lists is like having Michael Jordan on your team and not letting him shoot. If you were listening last week, you learned 8 of the reasons you should use lists ASAP. Today, I'm going to tell you enough to get you going and tell you a handful of use cases from our past consulting and process work. So, what are lists? They are super-duper spreadsheets on steroids. They are browser-based spreadsheets that can be tied together much like relational databases. In other words, you can link tables and spreadsheets together. I may address that in a future episode, but like anything else in Microsoft 365 you are curious about, I encourage you to go to Copilot in your Edge browser and ask it what a relational database is. Tell Copilot to give you an example or two. Yes, that's some of what SharePoint lists can do. But enough tech guru talk. You're a business person. You want to know what to do with the tool, and then you can hand the list creation off to your own tech guru, if you have one. So, there's one thing I must clear up first. I keep saying SharePoint lists, and you may be asking, well, Annie, I have the Lists app. How is that different? Well, there's no difference. They're the same thing in different packages, which could be confusing for sure. As I said earlier, SharePoint lists have been around a long time. Microsoft realized a couple years ago that not enough businesses were taking advantage of them, so they built the Lists app. It's still SharePoint lists, but in an a la carte way. It is my preference to still build lists from within SharePoint, but either way works. If you do use the Lists app, however, be aware that lists are saved in the user's OneDrive by default. And yes, you can share any list you build, but as I say when it comes to document storage, if a list is intended to be for a workgroup's usage, don't store it in your OneDrive. Remember, as with document storage, OneDrive is for your personal stuff, while Teams and SharePoint are for workgroup stuff. Okay, sorry about that. I know it's more tech guru details, but I know you. You're a do-it-yourselfer, and I just wanted to alert you to that potential for confusion. So, you thought of a good use for lists. You have a spreadsheet several people work on, and our last episode convinced you to use lists instead of Excel. Here's what you do. Go to the SharePoint site you wish to put the list in. Go to the site contents page. Click the New button and choose List. Again, if Microsoft changes the menus to build a list, just go ask Copilot how to build a new list. You can add columns to the list by clicking the Add Column option across the top of the spreadsheet, but I don't like that method. I always construct lists using the List Settings page. As of this month, you get to the Settings page by clicking that little cog thingy near the upper right corner of the page. Then, choose Settings. On the Settings page, you'll see a bunch of settings categories in 3 columns near the top. Those are useful as you get more accustomed to using lists. But right now, we want to build some columns. A little farther down the page, you'll see the default columns. There is Title, Created, Modified, etc. Title is a default column you can't get rid of. You can rename it, but you can't delete it. That's okay, because you'll want it 99% of the time. That's generally the column where the unique name of the item in a row gets added. Simple spreadsheet stuff, right? Then, right below that, you'll see a Create Column link. Click that, and a New Column dialog will open up. Name your new column, and then assign its properties. Choose single line of text, multiple lines, choice, date and time, or whatever. Pretty intuitive stuff. I bet you'll figure it out. If not, Again, ask Copilot. Now, once you get all your columns built, go ahead and add some rows of information. I like to do that, even if the data is fictional and temporary, because it will help me build good views. Views are awesome. They are canned or pre-built views of the data. You can't easily do that in Excel. You may want a view that filters out completed items. You may want one that groups the items by category. Regardless, this is where you can spoon-feed information to users without them having to repeatedly filter, group, and sort like they have to do with spreadsheets. By now, I think I've told you enough that you can probably go and experiment in lists with an idea you have. I guarantee you'll fall in love with lists. As promised, here are some of the coolest uses for lists that we've done in the past. Multiple times we've built CRMs for clients. That was done by building a client list and tying it to another list that contained client interactions. The sales reps of the small companies then entered a new item in the second list every time they had contact. While not suitable for larger companies, it sure saved some tiny companies the cost of a CRM and helped them stop using their old cobbled-together spreadsheets. Another time, for a bigger operation, we built a lockout-tagout list. If you're not familiar with lockout-tagout, that's where mechanics, electricians, and other tradesmen request that equipment be locked out of use so they don't get electrocuted and such as they're working. That list helped coordinate a lot of very important information and kept everyone on the same page. Another awesome use of lists was a small local city who needed a better way to track shelter house reservations. That solution was the topic of episode 15, so if you want a good example of lists solving a problem, I encourage you to go listen to that one. I could go on because I have so many examples. Businesses love spreadsheets after all, and spreadsheets being used by multiple people are usually much more effective in lists than they are in Excel. Yes, I've gone a bit long today, but lists are a great opportunity for most businesses. If you like this episode, please share it with your business besties and please come back for more next Monday. Until then, this is Annie, signing off.